I pop
Sir, you can pop your beer whenever you...
Can I pop the beer?
You can pop your beer whenever you would like. Alright. Welcome to the Better1 Podcast. As always, your host, Tyler Wells. And the man whose kryptonite is just thick women, Joshua Dawson.
Well, again, he just knows me too well, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like your beer is warm because it was definitely sitting there.
I mean, it's lukewarm, if I were to be honest right now.
I guess we're drinking Canadian today.
Yeah, that's alright. I mean, I'll just act like it's cold outside. But it's not!
Well, you know, you can't have your cold beers, but there's something to celebrate, ladies and gents. In the Gators beat episode.
No!
41-14, you know?
Yep. And they're not making it to no bowl game, bitches.
Take them out.
Take them out.
And finally, we have some other stuff to celebrate as well. And I know Josh and I are incredibly happy to finally see this happen. Who's in the slammer, Josh?
Is it a guy named 6ix9ine?
Well, I'm sure that's what the fine fellers down at the penitentiary will be doing to him.
Finally, we see some bars.
Well, they say, ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
But yes, ladies and gentlemen, 6ix9ine is in the slammer, and he's probably getting manicures and pedicures from Bill Cosby. No, not really, because they're not in the same prison. But it would make a great meme if there ever was one.
Did you see that picture that on Twitter that went around? And it was like, I forgot what scene that movie's from, but he's like doing the other prisoner's hair.
Let's go to jail.
Yeah, let's go to
prison.
Yeah, he's doing his hair.
He's like
Photoshop Cosby's head on
his hair. Yeah. But yes, he was taken to prison for racketeering charges, and there was a video that dropped this week that shows him talking to Chief Keef, or Chief Keef's cousin rather, and as soon as he hangs up with him, he like looks at his gang quote unquote posse.
That's what you want to call them.
And is like, yeah, I got like 30,000 on him or 40,000 on him or something like that, and basically says like he put a hit out on Chief Keef's cousin. Oh, yeah. And that was like a week before Chief Keef got like shots thrown at him in New York, so it was kind of questionable. Like, and even though I remember me and Tyler were talking about this when it happened, I kind of had a suspicion that that's what actually happened, was that 6ix9ine like had goons go after Chief Keef.
They were having beef going
on. They were beefing back and forth for no fucking reason, and I'm just like, okay, Chief Keef's not like the creme de la creme of rap, but he's still a little bit more talented than 6ix9ine, so I was just like...
I believe they call that clout coins.
Yeah, so...
He's got a little bit more clout coins.
It's a little more than Bitcoin, it's clout coin.
It's a different kind of cryptocurrency.
Buy him on SoundCloud,
it's a different kind of crypto.
But it just seemed pretty sus, and then it happened, and I'm like, okay. So
it's all coming together.
Yeah. And then in the middle of all this, once he got put in prison, his lawyer was trying to say that, he just raps about like gang mentality, gang violence, and gang retaliation for clout. Not in those words, but basically that's what he was trying to get at. And I'm like, well, he's kind of right, but this dude's like talking about like putting a hit out on people, and they're releasing the footage, and then you're trying to say, he's not gang affiliated.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's when it's lining up is kind of when it's the problem.
Well, and that's what bugs me, because like Bobby Shmurda, free Shmurda, like if I was to say anybody that they need to get out of the pen right now is Shmurda, but
that's why I'm going. It's just, can we do this? Can we Red Rover? Yeah. Send Bobby Shmurda on over. We'll just trade him out.
Yeah, well, if you keep 6ix9ine, that's cool.
For life, go ahead. We just want Shmurda. We need a new album.
Dude was just literally like caught hanging out with, or they assumed he was affiliated with a certain like blood gang in Bronx, and they were like, yeah, that's it, scoop him up.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like,
GS9, he's the kingpin. I remember when that came out.
Yeah, and I'm like,
they were like, yeah, he's the kingpin, and I was like, isn't he like 19?
It's like, okay. Now he's like getting swole and doing songs, ironically, with 6ix9ine, which I'm like, don't do it.
But call out.
Get out of jail first, please.
He forgot his kid out of jail free card. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You're supposed to save those, ladies and gentlemen.
And you didn't pass go. You didn't collect $200, apparently.
Hit 200 pounds of beef on him.
He's
yoked. Boy's looking like a prime rib fillet coming out of prison.
Get yoked in prison. But
I bet there's like a waiting line for Schmurda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all them ladies are like, I can't wait. And he's just like...
And right next to them is all, like, the record labels. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll take him.
He's counting it up, and he's just
I don't care if he, like, does the ABCs, but we'll take him.
Because didn't he was like, wasn't he able to hide his money, too?
Yeah, something like that.
He didn't, like, lose any money, really. And he just got sent to jail, so it's almost like now he's just going to get cred, and he's going to have a ton of money ready for him.
And he became, like, the meme of, like, 4 or 5 years ago when he went to prison. The, like, hand behind the head, like, if a dude's telling you a story about this, it's a lie. That shit, like, killed me. I'm like, okay, that's true. But, speaking of abortions, not 6'9".
Talking about abortion.
6'9", not 6'9".
That's a failed abortion.
The failed abortion. If there was such a thing, it would be Mortal Engines.
So, I'm sitting there, watching my Cowboys win on Thanksgiving. And then a commercial popped up down in the fourth quarter. I hear an engine rev. I'm like, this is strange. There's a movie, it's called Mortal Engines, coming out. Josh, you want to know what it's about?
What's it about, Tyler?
So I like how fake you're like, what's it about? Like, so, fucking Mortal Engines.
Keep it rolling, damn it!
He's off script. He broke the fourth wall.
What's it about, Tyler?
What's it about? Yeah, so Mortal Engines. So I guess they say it's like a post-apocalyptic event occurred, and it caused these cities. One went to the sky, one went to the sea, and then so now we have these cities that are on wheels. So yeah, they're like, yeah, let's put them on wheels and engines, and then so I'm like, that. It's got to be the worst movie I've ever seen a trailer for in my entire life. And I've seen some King Kong remakes that I'm just like, it makes sense because it's Peter Jackson.
Well, in this one, they're like, here comes London. We need to take out London. And I'm like, since when did London become the superpower we need to take out? I'm like, okay.
So I decided, then Stevie told me that it was a book, one of my friends, right? And he goes... Yeah, it's based on a novel, so, like, I hope it does well. And I'm like, there's no way that's interesting in the slightest. Because it says that the event happened, and this guy who he's referred to as a god, after that, he took the city and installed an engine and put them on wheels. And then these cities can eat smaller towns, I guess, which are also on wheels somehow.
Right.
Which, where did their guy
and they're
come
not
from?
Wheels, ladies and gentlemen, they're treads, because it looks like basically like cities on tanks, more or less.
I don't know, they're like fast, though, is what I saw. On the trailer, they look fast. But it says that they can eat smaller cities for resources, which... I'm not sure how that works.
It looks like they're
going to siphon it?
I was about to say, do they go like pirate style, where they just like latch on to them like harpoons and then like take all their shit and rape and pillage and then go on, you know?
Do you know how so we've been playing Fallout 76?
Oh yeah.
So you know when you get like scrap?
Yeah.
And it's like, you get aluminum springs in this, but it's like a horse toy.
Yeah.
And so that's what I imagine that it does. It's like, it's just, you just ate a steel beam in a skyscraper. You get glass and steel from that.
Oh, God.
So I'm just assuming that's how they think it works.
But that's, I don't know. I really, Peter Jackson did a great job with Lord of the Rings. I haven't seen all the Hobbit movies to like really definitely say that the Hobbit movies did well.
He's like a one-hit wonder, almost.
Yeah, and then he tried with King Kong.
Yeah.
And King Kong was, like, it wasn't...
I would say
it wasn't terrible, but it was still like, okay, we're going on 2 hours, and the best part of this whole movie was, like, King Kong taking on a fucking T-Rex, so...
Yeah, I don't see the draw to have more King Kong. Like, I think it was more over the top, and I think that's what he's kind of known for. It's just over the top, kind of nonsensical movies.
Right. And this one's like almost like Howl's Moving Castle meets Mad Max. Like that's literally what it's like.
Because I told the one I brought up when we were talking about it is I thought of Waterworld.
Yeah, that too.
And so Waterworld, I'm sure. I mean, it's kind of past a lot of people's time. That
right.
Probably listen. But, Waterworld...
We're getting up in age here at the Better1 Podcast.
You can see Waterworld on TV. It's usually on one of those channels on cable. And so that, it makes sense because it's like global warming happens.
Right.
Ice caps melt. It floods the earth because that's like a whole thing is that, eventually the sea levels are going to rise. And like poor little Florida that we live in is supposed to go away.
We'd be fucked.
And so Waterworld, they had to figure out how to have resources and other people control resources because it's kind of like a slight spin on Mad Max.
Yeah.
Except Waterworld, everything's water, so you have to travel by boat to these cities.
So it's sort of like Castaway, but towards the end when he's on the raft, and that's what they're doing is like trying to find other like colonies that are on sea and find any semblance of Earth, basically.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh, we have a big city, so we got to eat smaller cities.
Yeah, and that's what it's like with this, but they're on land, and the land's just basically like Fallout style, like you said, that's just kind of like decimated, but it's still there. Yeah. Like, it's not like the world got like blown up to catastrophic proportions.
It was like that there's like, I think the book said that there's like volcanoes and like all this stuff around. So it almost made, like, staying in one place is, like, uninhabitable. Right. So you need to keep moving. And I was just like, that just doesn't make any sense.
And that's the other thing is, in the trailer, I mean, I didn't look it up on IMDb, but I didn't see anybody that was really noteworthy, actor or actress-wise. I was kind of like, well, he could have gotten someone, if it just one, like, A-list star, to make it like, oh, okay, I'll go see it, But that's not really the case with this one.
I'm trying to think who you could put into it. Like,
I was gonna say Sean Bean, but I'm like, please don't, because I'm like, he's already in Game of Thrones and he's already like a valued character, or even though you died in the first season, spoiler. And then Lord of the Rings, but I really couldn't think of anybody else that he would. Because he kind of rolls with the same crowd, so it would be like Martin Freeman or somebody else.
Bring him back for it.
Oh, here's Elijah Wood. What? What the hell is he doing in here?
I'm looking for my dog.
Yeah. What? Wait, what, sir? Excuse me?
He's a talking dog.
Yeah. I'm in Dirk Gently's detective agency.
This guy's crazy.
Yeah, this guy's weird. Well, speaking of weird, I did see that they dropped the Batwoman trailer, which is basically they're going to do a crossover, which they've done before with Arrow and the Flash.
Yeah, because they're doing CW's doing that, right?
Right, on the CW, but this time they're including the newest Batwoman, which is played by Ruby Rose, and I know me and you have talked about it before, where it's kind of like, like it could be okay, it could be shit. Yeah. Which, and in all honesty, and the trailer that they dropped this week was basically like the Flash and Arrow. Is that really? I mean,
it was like a picture. So the picture that got released, it was he like released it and then he showed it was a crossover. So it's like Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash, was in the Arrow costume, and I always forget the other actor's name who plays Green Arrow. I forget his name. Oh, Stephen Amell.
Right.
Yeah. But so they were crossed over in each other's costume, and that was supposed to be like the crossover episode of that. And
well, basically,
they like to include the other CW shows that they put,
which is cool, and it's DC, so it's like it's cool to see this shit pan out.
Well, they do line, so DC lines up a lot more than say like Marvel,
right? So
it kind of makes sense because they exist in like the same realm,
and.
Which I don't know why the world's so crime-ridden.
Yeah. What the hell's going on in their world?
And then, like, every city's, like, like a New York City of scum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Green Arrow, the Flash, they come upon who they think is Batman, and they're like, it's Batman. And then she, like, kind of rears her head, and you see, like, the red hair from Ruby Rose that's, like, long and flowing, and they're like, that's not Batman. And then it, like, cuts.
It's Batman in a wig.
And they, like, cut it. And I'm just like, okay. But why wouldn't they call it Batwoman? I mean...
It's kind of like the same thing. So, I mean, the only problem... So, in The Flash, they have the Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, they have all that group. And then, there's Supergirl. but there's no Superman
Yeah.
in that universe. So I think it's weird that they went Batwoman, but not Batman.
I thought Superman appeared in one of the episodes of Supergirl, though. Like, briefly. Like, you catch a glimpse of him or something like that, but it's not like a full-on, like, let's go after this enemy or anything.
But what I mean is, so it's like it's not active, so I think it's weird that they decided to, like, double back females, I guess.
Right.
You know? Like, we're going to have both those main leads, and it's kind of, it's strange that they wouldn't, like, toss Batman in there
and
attempt to make another Batman.
People were, like, trying to, like, say that it was because Ruby Rose got, like, casted that's why people were hating, and I'm like, it's not that. It's just, I didn't really picture her in that role, if anyone.
I think
you know what I mean? Like, she's just kind of bland when she acts. Like, from what I've seen in, like, Orange is the New Black and other, like, bits that she's been in, I just don't see anything where I'm like, yeah, she could be a leading or even, like, a heroic role.
You know? I'll hate to, like, say, but I know that, so, the CW, that they're good at finding actors that you would be like, why? Like, why is that person here, like, in that role? And then they end up doing really well.
Right.
So, like, I'm trying to, like, oh, yeah, so Grant Gustin, do you know what show he was in before The Flash?
No.
It was Glee.
Oh, God.
He was in Glee. So, like, when they put him in there, I'm sure everyone was like, why? You know, because, it's Flash, superhero, everyone's like, oh, gotta have this manly man. And then put him in from Glee, and then he does that.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. He does, like, an amazing job in that character.
I don't know, you've watched more of The Flash than I have, so I'm not saying that the crossover will be bad in general.
I would say to give her, like, a chance.
Yeah, I'm just
in the role.
I'm just worried because of, I would probably just pirate it if I had a choice, but, like, trying to see, like, the Teen Titans, like, live action, like, seeing the clips of that, I'm just like, that looks fucking terrible.
Yeah, I think that's where, you can kind of get put off by that, because, it's kind of like, like, when you see Suicide Squad, when it was like that, you're like, I don't like certain choices they made,
but, it's there, like, I wish, and I know it'll happen, like, within our lifetime or way after, but they'll try and remake that, and it could have been a lot better, for example, and I feel like DC, like, because and you know this, I'm more pro DC than I am Marvel, but Marvel's just stepped up to the plate in the last decade.
Like next level.
Right, they've stepped up to the plate in the last decade where it's like, I like Spider-Man, I like Captain America, I like Black Panther, and it's like, and
you like all the
blows them out of the
and
water.
You like every single actor that plays that part, you like that actor.
Right.
Like, they have found, like, ones that have, like, enough movie cred to be put into that spot.
Like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, you have Jeremy Renner, you have Scarlett Johansson.
Right.
You're sitting there, Chris Evans.
Right.
Like that. And, he's coming from, you have Chris Evans who came from, like, failed, like, Fantastic Four.
Right.
And, like, that's really the only thing he has to show for, like, that style of movie.
Right.
And then, now, look what he is now.
Oh, yeah.
He's a household name.
Right. And I feel like DC kind of just dropped the ball and just kind of let it keep rolling.
Yeah.
Whenever Marvel, like, just decided to get ahead and just was like, whatever. We'll release Justice League, like, years later after they released the first Avengers movie. And I'm like, they should have been, like, neck and neck.
Yeah.
To where it could have been like, I like this over this one. Even if you were kind of like an on the fence or just a leaned one way or the other kind of, like, comic fan. And it didn't happen.
I think to me, like, I think my opinion on it is more like Marvel, they decided to kind of stick with what they do for comics, but then they were like, they changed, like, certain things, and when you were like, why did they change that? And they went, well, that's our cinematic universe. It's completely different on that aspect, because that's how we're bringing all these people together, because, like, the comic books are separate, like, so far apart.
Right.
And stuff like that is, it's different, like, time periods of, when this stuff happened, and when, like, Civil War happened, And so they put, like, the Avengers in that so they could have certain characters that line up with it better.
Right.
And in DC, I think, just like, nah, we'll just do this.
It's okay. Like, we'll just ride the coattails with, like, Superman and
Superman
Batman.
versus Batman. And you're like,
okay.
And you look at it and go, well, are you going to use, like, are you going to use Christian Bale? No. Like, why? No. Like, why? And then they do the same thing. They're like, are you going to use them? I'm like, no. Is this one canon with this series? No. And that's where people are like, I don't care. And then the first one that finally lines up it's going to be Justice League. Those are they finally line up with each other, where the characters from the other individual movies line up and go to that.
Right. And the upside to all this is that they have shown pictures of Joaquin Phoenix finally in Joker garb.
See Joaquin around New York.
Yes, he was. Very, very valid.
I feel better.
Yeah,
I got that one out.
That one was hurting me a little bit. They showed him in Joker garb, and it kind of reminded me of the attire. The picture's out there right now. But the very first scene of The Dark Knight, when they're all robbing the bank, and it's them in different masks, and it's like more or less like old circus type clowns and like
face painted.
Right, that's what he looks like, and it's not like the bright green and purple. It's like green, orange, and kind of like dark brown kind of look to him.
I mean, so for me, like Joker, I don't think face makeup matters as much.
Yeah,
but bro, messing with the color scheme is always going to irritate me.
And that's the thing, is that this one's set in the 80s, supposedly. Like, that's the timeline they've given it when Joker is supposedly, like, getting into his ultimate, like, villain role. Like, what pushed him, like,
early
over the edge. Right. And that's what I think will be interesting, especially because it's filmed in New York. Like, the old, or not old, but the Christopher Nolan's trilogy was filmed in Chicago, and that was Gotham. But it'll be interesting to see Gotham as Gotham, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
Because we've seen it, but not in the last, 10 years, Yeah,
I think the best part is if they do his backstory well, because I think that's kind of the thing that's the most in the dark about him. And they kind of ignore, they're just like, he had a rough, upbringing, and everyone kind of remembers the Dark Knight version, I think he's got his scars, and that's...
Right, and how he got them, and...
Yeah, and then the makeup it highlights those, natural features of him, and you can tell how that kind of, sends him into, a power trip, and he's, borderline insane,
right,
and things like that.
And
I think doing that well will bring it up, and it'll make the movie better.
And I'm still, like we've said I think it was the very first podcast we did, I was kind of skeptical that Todd Phillips is directing it.
Yeah.
And, I have hope, but it's still kind of iffy. It could be very comedic in the dark, Joker sense that we need. But at the same time, it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's how much of a clown do you want to make him, basically?
And especially with Joaquin Phoenix's career as of late, kind of clown.
I just think it's so hard to compete. Yeah, and that's why, like I said, Christopher Nolan's up there with my favorite director of all time. So when I hear anyone trying to compete with anything that he has, I'm just like, you'll be sorry.
You'll be sorry.
Wow. Is there a horse in there?
I'm a little...
What's that?
You'll be sorry.
Yeah, so that's where I'm laying in that. And then we want to talk about bringing up old things. I'm sure everyone's seen the new trailer for
Seems
the
like
Lion King.
224 million people in 24 hours globally.
Yeah, it broke records, is what Josh just told me 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, for what? And he's just just for views. And I was like, well, I guess, everyone would want to see it. And, I guess I'm part of that statistic because I had to go back and rewatch it because I saw it on TV. I'm not. I mean, it looks good. Like you watch.
Yeah, it's literally like almost a shot for shot copy of the opening scene of The Lion King,
which I think is good. That if you're gonna remake something, sticking that close to the original, is phenomenal.
But this is all CGI, so they have to like bring that portion into it. Which and Lion King is probably like my all-time favorite Disney movie from that era, and we were like 1.5 when that movie came out. So
we live in a weird time of when we grew up because everything felt like it came out. I don't know if you noticed that, like going back and being like, well, I watched that when I was a kid, and then you realize like it came out before I was born,
or so like right after.
So like my favorite thing of always was like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
and that came out in 89.
Right,
and it felt brand new to me because it was syndicated on TV.
Right,
and so I would watch it like I was watching a brand new episode that day, and that's how that always felt. And I think really like the only one I like mainly have is like I think it's like is it SpongeBob? Like I distinctly remember
that came out in 99.
Yeah, like I remember watching the very first episode of SpongeBob. And, like, that's the one that sticks in. Like, I remember that premiere of that episode.
And this is... I feel like it's definitely a callback for those that were either born then or were, like, teetering on the verge of childhood into, like, teenage years.
Well, I mean, it's like Disney's algorithm to a T.
It's bringing... everybody back together that are adults now.
Yeah, I call that Disney's algorithm to a T, and because it's I'm gonna take an old thing that you used to like, I'm gonna release it now, so you'll watch it and you'll take your kids to watch it.
Right, and that's same with The Incredibles too. Like the memes are already coming out. Like y'all kids better get out of my way for this premiere.
It's the same thing.
Which. I mean, to me, I don't think...
You've got Star Wars, Toy Story, Lion King, Incredibles, like
Aladdin.
When they came out with, like, Monsters University, like, all that stuff is, like, they're playing on.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, it looks good, and it has a pretty good cast, like, Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, Beyonce, Billy Eichner, Seth Rogen...
is Seth Rogen one of the hyenas?
No. He's
really
he's Pumbaa.
Oh, that's right, he is Pumbaa.
And then Billy Eichner's Timon, which that'll be pretty good. Yeah. John Oliver is Zazu, which
John Oliver does he does a lot of voice acting,
which really makes sense. Like that's a pretty good Zazu, to be honest. And then they're bringing back James Earl Jones as Mufasa, which I think is pretty good that they can do
that's probably
that.
The best move that they've done.
Yeah, and I think if anything, like I'm glad they did it. I mean, not to speak ill of the living, but I'm glad while he's still alive that's what they chose to do, and it's just being like, oh, we'll get an impersonator or something. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful.
I still wish they would have brought like Matthew Broderick back for it though.
Yeah,
that done something like that, like brought him to voice over a different character that's not Simba.
That's the thing though, is Jon Favreau is the one that's doing this movie, and he also did the Jungle Book. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the live action one. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see it yet, but I heard that it wasn't like amazing.
That's another thing. Like there's another director I don't really doubt, and if there's a lot of movies that you probably don't know who it's directed by, it's usually Jon Favreau. Yeah, and he makes great movies, and so he'll get like these projects that he almost like keeps it on the down low that he's doing it. But I mean, Jungle Book. I doubt it was great, but.
And that's the only thing, I'm worried about is, and that's the thing is, cartoon to CGI or, live action, in other words, is going to be different. Yeah. And that's what we have to be receptive to.
So the only difference between like Jungle Book and then Lion King is every single character in the Lion King is an animal.
Right.
So in Jungle Book, that's not true.
True.
So that is where you mix live action with, that's because they were talking about, like, is Lion King live action? And it's like, it's CGI.
Right.
And so, like, I think it'll be better. It'll almost be like it's animated, but it's updated technology where you get to see it. And I mean, it's going to look pretty cute. So, it looks pretty cute.
It's looking cute.
So I think as long as they stick to, like, that, I think they'll be good.
And I think it'll still break records.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Disney is definitely keeping their spot at Animal Kingdom here in Orlando.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, for at least another 5-6 years of, their Lion King show, for sure.
Well, it's you have all these favorite characters that you can bring back and sell merchandise. And I mean, when you think about it, it's genius to do it.
But what I saw, definitely, like, it made me feel like I was a kid again, and that's what I think is what they're trying to bring about, that emotion, like, nostalgia, where
I think that's like, the main thing that adults like is, you see that scene where it was the same music.
Right.
It's
same opener.
Rafiki lifts Simba up, to the whole herd.
Right.
And then, he cracks the berry, puts it on his head, and I'm like, it looks real.
Right.
Like, and that CGI is crazy in that way that, like, it's not even like a swipe across his head. It looks like it's wet berry on fur. Right. And I'm like, that's crazy how
and
that
you're
works.
Like, okay, well, I appreciate that they took this long to make it.
Yeah.
Because had it been, like, half-assed, you'd be like, whatever. Yeah. So, and that's coming out, like, July of next year, which will be cool. And then, like, Toy Story will come out the month before that. And then I think Aladdin's coming out next year, too.
That's not one I think can do well as Aladdin.
And and that one I'm hopeful for, too, because I'm wondering if those two do well, like, how even more... like, popular and energized that the Mulan movie will kind of gain with, like, the fans and people and the critics, too.
There's a lot of, like, animated movies that I remember thinking, like, this could do well as a live-action movie.
Right.
And Mulan's always been one, too.
And they've spent, like, $2 billion on that movie.
So, like, that song's getting nixed from it.
Which one?
Where she's like where they're like talking about, send me sons.
Really?
That one's probably like,
yeah, cut it. It's 2018.
Like, it's 2018. Cut it.
That's not PC. That's not PC. You need to cut
it. They sent me daughters when I asked for sons.
Okay, never mind. Maybe we shouldn't do that one.
Yeah, dude, we're trying to get down to business here. Feed them Huns.
Speaking of them Huns.
Them Huns and buns.
Huns and buns.
Yeah, them honey and bunnies.
That Arianna latte.
Arianna latte. She come in that grande package. So there's always her. I mean, she's been popular recently, and she's all over like Twitter and TMZ, all that stuff because of her like music video for "Thank You Next."
Yeah.
Thank you next.
Yeah.
And so she's doing like Bring It On, Mean Girls. She's got like all these parodies in her video,
and all the white girl like movies that everybody worships.
Pretty much,
basically.
like cult classics.
Yeah.
Like basically teenage
pumpkin spice latte, Ugg boot, white girl looking asses.
Well, I can quote me some Mean Girls. So even then,
you can't sit with us.
Since we wear pink, and that's like, it's like you're like really pretty. Oh, so you think you're like really pretty? So she was. There was other stuff about her. That Pete Davidson and her both got the tattoos covered.
Right.
So they both had a couple tattoos, which everyone's like, don't do
that.
Don't do it.
Paris Hilton and Nick Carter. Yeah, Nick Carter did that.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
It's just any time that happens. I mean, you got the classic, like, Johnny Depp, like, Winona, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Where he changed it to Wino.
Yeah.
And,
which he is now.
Wow.
So. Wow.
He sees the future.
Big deal.
So, it came out that he got it covered, so Pete Davidson turned his little Ariana Grande bunny ears that he had behind his ear. He turned it into a black heart and then she filled in. She had like an empty heart for him on her hand, and then colored it in black. She was like, "Well, since my empty heart's now black," and then colored it in.
Well, it's almost like with that publicity and that much like white girl like drama, you wonder if they were like, let's do it together and then fucking talk about it in front of the world. You know
I don't know why they have to have like this like emo like split. Like you guys are millionaires and you're having this emo split.
You bros like, trying to be on the next MCR like album cover.
I'm like, that's what I just imagine. Like she's gonna have a burn book and it's just gonna say "fuck Pete Davidson" in it, and it's gonna be something like that. Where it's just nonsense. So it's like, why? Why are you like...
Arianna, he was on Guy Code when Guy Code first started out. Like, there's nothing to miss here.
You know that, like, started his career, too?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Which is nuts. That he was on that, and then I think he was on Wild and Out.
Yeah, that was his other thing.
And then he got onto SNL, and then that's what, like, massively blew up his career.
And that's the thing, like, when everybody was like, Pete Davidson from SNL, I'm like, that bro was on fucking Guy Code, and he was, like, kind of a dweeb on it, too.
I mean, still a dweeb, but, I mean, SNL, there's different people who, they watch SNL.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's people that they haven't never seen it in their life.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, we recognize more people, like, half the time, how, like, it starts out, and it, like, says everyone's name. So many people's names I forget, and I'm like,
Kenan Thompson. I don't know the rest.
Yeah, and I'm like sitting there, and like, of course, I know Kenan. The one I always get is like, so I'm like, I know Pete. I got Kenan, and I'm like Cecily Strong. And I'm like, I don't know why I always remember her name. And there's like all the other ones.
The inflection, Cecily Strong.
That's how he says it too. And but I'm like, man, I always forget like these other people's names, even though like. If I see them, I'm like, I recognize them. And the only one I'll ever get is, like, Colin Jost. Or Jost.
Yeah,
that's it. And,
Weekend Update with Colin Jost!
Michael Che.
Michael Che.
Yeah, so. It's just, like, to have him in the news for that is, like, you guys are just having, like, this, like, little lovers quarrel. And he made it seem like it was, like, all nice. And
we're good. We love each other.
Yeah, we're good. Like... Go on with your bad self.
Yeah. I'm on SNL before you.
I act like I'm poor and I live with my mom, but I'm actually rich. It's all a joke.
I'm on meds. Blah, blah, blah.
Get over it, Arianna.
It's okay. Sorry, next.
I'm not over it. Thank you, next.
Sorry, next. Oh, thank you, next. Sorry.
Thank you, next.
Thank you.
You gotta snap. If you don't snap, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't. It's not worth it. Well, in more recent, but I hope they don't include the last 10 years of pop culture in, there is talks that there's
popular pop stars.
Popular pop stars, yes. That there's a promoter from the original Woodstock Festival in 1969 that wants to have a 50th anniversary concert, and I'm like,
why?
Please, God, why? Because if you think about it, first of all, there's not that many of the original like set that are still alive besides like Neil Young.
I was gonna say they kind of got cut short.
Santana. Yeah. I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting right now, but But why? Because they would definitely not that they would have to, but they would have to because of like the publicity and everything else. They would have to include fuckers like Adam Levine.
So like
that would just like kill the whole vibe of like the whole peace and love, like 3 days of peace kind of.
That was gonna be like when we talk about it. We always talk about like our rough outline of what we're gonna do,
right?
And so I'm like, I can talk about that because Josh is less inclined towards like more popular pop stars than I am. And of course, like Woodstock, it's revered as, it's the greatest festival of all time.
Right.
And, where it started to what it became was, like, insane.
Oh, yeah.
And so to have, and everyone kind of was into that same type of music back then.
Right.
So in a way, it makes it, it's not
there wasn't, like, much diversity.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not like, you have different type of, like, rock artists and it's not like you had a rapper. Like, they didn't just throw them in the middle.
Right.
And so I think you'd have...
like fucking Lala.
And I think, so I think, like, the flow of that is, I think music's so diverse now that it's more like a Live Aid.
Yeah.
Is what it's going to kind of, like, resemble. And, of course, Woodstock, it's, like, known for being unruly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the cops are like, we can't even control it. So it was like, you're in the time of free love, free drugs, everything.
Free sex.
Yeah, so it's like, now we got to pay for it. And so...
What is this, the Bunny Ranch of festivals?
And there's going to have to be rules, there's going to have to be security, they're not going to let this happen where anything bad essentially happens. And, it's like, it's not going to be Burning Man if it's going to have the Woodstock name attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think they're going to let it happen. So I think that's what's going to ruin the vibe more than the people who are performing. Other than, like, we don't have, like, a singular thing we listen to.
Right. And not to mention, they tried to re-innovate or, like, reproduce that same vibe and that same festival in the same place in the 90s.
Yeah.
And there was riots. There was people getting stampeded.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen the footage of that, and it was literally just a fucking, like, whatever. Like, and back then, like, that was the attitude. It wasn't, like, free love, free peace, like we were just saying. It was just like, let's fuck each other up in this pit, and it to Alice in Chains, or Red Hot Chili Peppers with socks on their dicks, it's just like, it wasn't like, let's all get together and, like, love the music as a whole.
I mean, I know it's always, it makes it sound weird, but it's like, there's a vibe that you get.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't, it's hard to match that to that time period, because, it's like counterculture.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, we're, like, uptight, we listen to, like, older music and, like, like 50s rock and roll and, Chuck Berry type shit. And then you can't go from that to, like Hendrix, Clapton, that type of era, like Janis Joplin. No one's going to fucking... It's so divided that these people are like, we're coming together because we love this music and we're, like, rejected by society. So that's not... The only thing we have that's like that is rap. In a way that it's like a counterculture.
Yeah. That's true.
Because they're like, people who rap, they do it because they have to.
Or they do it because
or you're white and you have a SoundCloud.
Or they do it for the disparity of where they came from. Or
like, this is my upbringing.
Like the blues. Like, that's what I would compare it to.
And it's got, like, emotion to it.
Right.
So, like, back then, that's what rock and roll was. It's like, this is how we were brought, this is how we want to be treated. Stuff like that, and then so it's got, like, a counterculture to it. So that's the only place we have it is rap, and it's not like that whole festival is going to be rap if it's Woodstock.
Right.
So who are they going to have? They're not going to have indie rock.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
not all people who like rock like.
I'm not trying to hate, like, because I love rap. I love, like, a lot of different genres of music, but I feel like if they went from, like, let's say if they got Jimmy Page and Robert Plant to get up there, and then they went to, like, Justin Bieber or Ariana Grande, for that matter, I would, like, fucking, like, be like, okay, that's it.
Leave.
Like, I'm done.
Leave.
I'm not buying this Blu-ray. Like, fuck that.
Like, I came here because I want to see, these legends. So you have to figure out, is it going to be that, or is it going to be things that sell tickets?
Right.
And you're just, you're selling tickets. We don't have that say. And like you said, that you like a bunch of different music. And I think that's how it is now, that everyone's like, I like different types of music. I don't like just one. And that's why Woodstock basically came about, because there weren't that many options compared to how it is now.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, but you're right. That was like, especially during, like, the hippie movement, that was what you listened to.
Yeah, or you listen to other music.
Right. And, but that was, like, the, like, flower power movement.
Yeah.
Was listening to, like,
Bob Dylan,
Right, and just,
bring
like,
back our boys from the war type shit,
Yeah, and just, enjoying it. But like, I'm sure you've seen clips or watched all of it like I have, but you've seen the feature length film of Woodstock that Scorsese did that like got him famous.
Yeah,
that's Woodstock to me, and that's what you're not gonna replicate that, and that's what I'm worried about. Is like, don't like going back to like, for example, The Lion King or Toy Story that we talked about before. It's like we're in this like microwave society where we have to like fucking either replicate or just like do shit like on the fly, where it's like it's like, half-assed and it's not even worth doing.
So I know this is gonna sound really like, dude, like far out type shit, but like,
go ahead, man.
So like, to me, Woodstock is like, so you know how we have like digital cameras now, right? And we have cell phones that take pictures, and we can take pictures all the time of anything we want. You know, you take a picture of your sandwich, your dog, your mom in a grave. But so like back then, you had like, so you have like your camera, disposable film. You have to take it, you have to go get it developed. You only have a certain amount of pictures you can take. Woodstock to me is like it's a picture captured in time that you can't just replicate like on your phone. You can like copy it, paste it, copy it, paste it. This one, it's just a picture that's forever how that moment will be. You can't just copy it and replicate it over and over and over again.
Yeah. And that's, I think, replicating things is not bad, but when it's something like so...
Like, it's so late. It's like an emotion.
Right. You can't...
Woodstock's a moment in time that you could only know if you were there.
Right.
The feeling of Woodstock and being there. And you can see pictures, and you can watch a documentary, you can watch a movie, but you will never know what it felt like unless you were there.
And that's what I feel like they're trying to, like, not, like, tarnish, but they're trying to, it's almost like they're sliding it, almost, and trying to, like, recreate it again.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in the 90s, and I feel like almost like karma happened, even though I'm not, like, a big believer in karma or anything, but that's what happened, is, like, they tried it, and then all hell broke loose, and then they're like, we're never fucking doing this again,
Yeah, so I don't see why now that you would think, like, oh yeah, it'll probably work. And it's like, you'll never remake it.
No.
Because it's not something that it's easily remade, and that's the problem. Because we have, like, stuff like movies that you can remake because we have better technology. You can look at the movie, you can watch the movie, you can look at the movie, you can make it like that. But to put people who aren't controlled, to put them in an area, what you're going to tell them, just have fun.
Yeah.
There's people that they want to ruin that. Right. That's just how it is. But back then, they just got rid of those people who wanted to ruin it.
Right.
They kind of like self-police themselves. And that's like what Burning Man does that. They kind of self-police themselves.
Right.
And anyone who's like fucking up the vibe, they're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. We'll force you out of here.
And that's the thing, is like, the counterculture movement is what almost like propelled that into history.
Yeah.
And there's a counterculture like part of today, but it's not the same.
It's like a niche. It's not.
Yeah, it's not the same like thing. It's not the same vibe. If you really want to get like that deep, and that's what kind of bothers me, is that they were trying to like beat a dead horse almost, and it's like, it happened, let's keep it that way. Like, that was the better part of that era. For example, like during the Vietnam War, we didn't have a lot to be happy about but that movement. You know what I mean? And that's where I wish they would leave it lie.
Well, that's where the separation is. Because Vietnam's it's the last time we had a draft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to have people who are like, we're so against it and stuff like that, they draft dodge and complete counterculture. Like, you can't force us to do something we don't support.
Right.
And then festival of music, let's come together, let's have some music, some unity.
Right.
You can't make that up. You can't make that feeling come back.
You can't recycle it.
It's like you can't make people, not lock their doors anymore.
Right.
You know, it's not something that exists anymore.
And I'll never forget, like, especially, like, coming, like, back to that era, but, like, Country Joe and the Fish, when they're like, give me an F! F! Give me you!
Yeah.
You! And they're, like, they're literally just singing about Vietnam and, like, young men coming home in a box. Like, that's what they were preaching, you know? It's not, like, just Jimi Hendrix playing the national anthem or the Star Spangled Banner on his guitar, or, like, Santana playing Black Magic Woman. Like, there was more to it than just that, you know?
Yeah.
And for all that happened in those 3 days with, like, the disarray of what they had of people and, like, promoters and stuff, they still came together.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It wasn't chaos, it worked. And
right.
I guess my final point on that will be, you can replicate products, but you can't replicate, like, memories.
And feelings.
Right. So, like, you just can't make something, you can't say, I want it to be like this, this is how I want it to be, because you can't force people to feel a certain way.
Right. And it's just, you get to a point where you're just, like, forcing something down someone's throat, and it's like, well, your grandfather did it, or your father did it.
Have you ever had, like, have you ever been, like, a birthday party, and they're like, are you having fun? You're having fun, right? And it's kind of like, you asking me makes me mad.
Right.
So stop asking me.
Yeah.
And so, to do that again is like, yeah, everyone just, like, get along. Have a vibe.
Just
enjoy the music. Be like, I fucking hate you, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And they're like, like some guy like, but I love him. Yeah, I love him.
Peace, man. Catch a vibe, dude. Far out.
It's like when you bring Little Xan's, like, Tupac's music's boring. Could you imagine them kids in the like?
That's what I'm saying.
We're out
like,
in the field.
Like,
who's this?
Huh?
Zeppelin, whatever.
Wu-Tang Clan. Wait, Wu-Tang Clan? What are they doing here? Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week's podcast.
I mean, unless you want to listen to Woodstock, rants for about another 25 minutes.
Oh yeah, we'll keep on it for Woodstock
next week. The Woodstock episode.
But as always, don't forget to subscribe. We're on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud, and we're still trying to figure out how to get on iTunes.
Well, we're kind of on SoundCloud, but SoundCloud keeps us down.
Yeah, the man is keeping us down.
Yeah, we got past our upload limit, so that's why the last episode couldn't get on there.
Right.
But, yeah, subscribe to us on Twitter. You can always keep up with us on YouTube. It's at Better1 Podcast. And we're going to try. We're still trying. Going to get on iTunes, buckle down for once, and try to move it to that. And then we'll probably start doing iTunes, Spotify, because, we don't have videos playing anyway, so you might as well listen to us.
Right.
And, yeah, we'll probably put, like, teasers and links. And then I think 1 week we're gonna try to do, like, a live stream.
Yeah.
For our podcast. And do it like that. And then we'll just move the recordings as such. But,
as such.
Yet again. Goodbye. Better1 Podcast.
Goodbye, y'all.
We hardly knew you.
It's Better1 Podcast. Goodbye. Subscribe and.